Welcome back to the Glamping Americas podcast, the show where we explore the business of luxury camping, outdoor hospitality, and everything in between. Today, we're diving into a topic that more and more owners, operators, and investors are starting to take seriously: third-party management. And more importantly, we ask here, is it the secret to scaling your luxury camping business without losing your soul or your sanity? My guest today is Dan Invergo, the Director of Business Development at Northgate Resorts, a company with deep roots in developing and operating some of the most successful camp resorts in the US. Now they're rolling out a third-party management platform designed to help others do the same. We talk about how you know if you're ready for third-party support, how to protect your guest experience while managing costs, and what makes one management partner better than another. Whether you're an independent owner feeling the pressure of growth, or you're curious about what it takes to run a high-performing resort at scale, this episode is packed with practical insights you will not want to miss. So grab your notebook, get inspired, and let's jump in. Welcome to the Glamping Americas podcast, the place for inspiration about the business of upscale camping, glamping, and luxury outdoor guest accommodations. I'm Sarah Riley from the Glamping Academy, and I'm working with my friends at the Glamping Show Americas to share everything you need to know about new trends, events, business models, and investment potential in the rapidly growing world of luxury camping that delivers an experience. Interest in this industry is exploding, so if you want to be the first to find out what's hot and what's not, subscribe here and check out the show notes for more exciting news and links. And be sure to add the next Glamping Show Americas to your calendar for the 30th of September to the 1st of October 2025 near Denver, Colorado. I can't wait. Dan, thank you so much for joining me today. It's really wonderful to have you here because I know that a lot of people who will be interested in third-party management tools will be interested in what you have to say, because a lot of people will not really truly understand the benefits it can bring to them, but there are so many. So before we go there, let's ask you about Northgate Resorts. So tell me a little bit about that, giving us a bit of a snapshot about what you do and how it all began.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for having me, Sarah. Also, this is a pleasure. Northgate Resorts, we started in 2013. We acquired our first property in Quarryville, Pennsylvania. It was a Jellystone brand, and it's very big here in the States with the Yogi Bear name. And so from there, it kind of rapidly grew because we saw the investment that we put into the property and we saw what it can do for us as a company. And fast forward to today, we're at 35 properties in 20 states. We own 10 properties and we manage another 25 properties. So we started as owners. We had some investors and joint ventures that we were able to grow pretty rapidly ahead of COVID and then through COVID as well, which was very good for this industry. But now we're offering our management services because we feel we're experts in this space, and we're, looking to fill a gap right now. There's not a lot of acquisition taking place because more people are holding on to their properties rather than letting them go these days.
35 properties across 20 states. That's a huge thing to manage.
It's a lot. It's fun though.
Yeah, I bet. And I expect you probably see a wide range of styles of properties across that. So is there anything that you have in terms of your set points? Do you have that you'll only take on this type of property or that type of property, or is it very wide ranging?
It's wide ranging for us. We have very sleepy, only seasonal properties that have all seasonal campers that are there for, the entire season. And then we have our big mega properties like our flagship Camp Fimfo in New Braunfels, which has 250 vacation rentals. It has 350 RV sites, as well as two pools, a roller coaster. It's got it all. So we're wide ranging, and, the entry point and breaking in, are we a good fit for the owner, and is the owner ready to have a manager come in and really take on the responsibility of making the property profitable.
So, in your time that you've been involved in Northgate, are you seeing more properties interested now in luxury camping and the luxury outdoor hospitality aspect of this?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's really the focus now. It's more about experience than convenience for a lot of folks. We're seeing, the need to actually downsize on the RV side and increase on the lodging side, whether it be our glamping pods, our glamping tents, or our full, stick-built 5-bedroom cabins and group lodging. It's a really big shift in this industry from even a couple years ago, because a lot of people found during COVID the outdoor hospitality was a lot of what they were getting indoors, but it was more all inclusive because of the amenities that are on property, and it's still family friendly. So we're seeing a huge shift in that direction.
So I find that really quite astounding that you said you're starting to see a drop in the RV side of things and an increase in the kind of luxury lodging end. Is that something that's been driven by anything in particular, or is that just the consumer desires that particular thing now?
For our locations, I think it's consumer desire. We're really close to major metros with a lot of what we manage and what we own. And so you don't have as many RV owners. I know RVs are still very popular. Texas is a huge RV market. Florida is a huge RV market. But we are seeing that more families want more of that experience rather than the stick-built brick and mortar hotels where they have the pool and, the restaurant. They want to have the activities and the experience, but they don't want to buy in and buy a very expensive RV to then maybe only use it once a year.
And you've got to put it somewhere, haven't you? And they're big. Those
Yeah.
RVs are so big. And we
Yes.
could never deal with that in Europe because our roads are so much smaller than in the US. But my goodness me. So you mentioned that you're building third-party management platforms. And I'm really curious as to what led you to expand into that. So why now and why that particular thing?
We've always managed. Obviously, we were owners first, but we've always managed. We manage properties for all of our investment groups that we ventured with. But yeah, for the most part, owners now are getting a little burnt out. Some people bought their properties at the height of COVID and thought it was like really easy to make the money because people were coming. They didn't have to worry about marketing or guest experience. So leveraging our expertise, we're able to then break into another part of this industry that we're very good at, but never really focused on as our sole way of doing business. So yeah, it gives owners an opportunity to hold on to their business. They don't have to exit. They can still be a part of the business. We work with owners every day. We collaborate with them, but we also know that there are larger companies and larger groups that are coming in and buying a lot of these campgrounds or developing campgrounds, and they have no experience or expertise in this space. So that's where we're able to step in and leverage that.
Absolutely. And I think it's particularly of interest to people who are investing in this space. They haven't really got much desire to be involved in the service side of things. But for listeners who may be a bit new to the term, who don't really understand what third-party management is, give a bit of an explanation, a bit of an overview, a high-level overview of what's involved.
It's really an extension of the owners. That's how I look at it. So we come in as the manager and manage everything from the employees to the revenue management, the marketing, to the risk and compliance, full service, anything that the ownership group was doing, we come in and do that for them to allow them to either step back or focus their efforts on other parts of their businesses that they have, and really to drive results. We have proven methods for revenue management. We utilize our CampSpot software, which we have in all of our properties in-house. We have a lot of the modeling already built out. So it's plug and play for us, and we're able to then help increase those revenues per site, as well as the marketing engine, which we feel is a big part of what we do. We have a really good program of in-house marketing associates that are supporting all of our properties that help drive the marketing side of things as well. So really, we're owners reps, I guess is the best way to say it. But it's not just full service. We do have a la carte services as well. Some people might not think that they want to, oh, I don't want to give up total control. So, but I need help on accounting, or I need help with the marketing, or I need help with revenue management. We can do those on an a la carte basis as well. But when it comes to us managing the property, that's usually full service, but we have those consulting and third party a la carte services as well.
really interesting too, because I know that some people, they really enjoy managing some aspects of their business, but there are other bits that they hate and they just want to get rid of it. They want to pass it on to somebody else. And I totally get that. So some people can't cope with the management of staff, or other people may not be able to do the marketing. They know that that's not their strong side. So the a la carte offering is really interesting. But how would an operator know when it's time to bring in a third party management company? What are the kinds of signs that they might be getting that it's time?
It's many, but the biggest one is my time being used effectively. A lot of the folks that I talk to, it's really they love managing the properties. They love the day-to-day. They love the employee interaction, the guest interaction, but they lose sight of the bookkeeping, or they lose sight of some of the other items of the business that truly drive the business on the backside. So if you're feeling like, okay, I can't get my head wrapped around the marketing, I don't have time to do the content, I don't have time to look and see what my SEO is looking like on my, Google metrics, that's when you want to have a conversation with a management company, whether it's us or other management companies. There's plenty of them out there, but first conversation, and those are the times where you really understand what we can do and how we bring our services to the table and whether it's a good fit for you. But the time aspect is a big one for a lot of people.
And I can imagine that actually, because you've got privy to seeing behind the scenes of lots of different businesses, you'll be able to instantly know if a business is operating well and is reaching those desired thresholds for performance, or whether they need to tweak certain things. I think, understanding what works in an industry it can be really hard, but one of the best ways to get that view is to see behind the scenes of lots of different companies.
Correct.
So with your offering and other companies that are out there, how would you advise someone to go ahead to look for the right company to suit them? How would they know how to find the best fit?
Obviously, you want to talk to more than one company. That anyone will tell you, and if they're not telling you, they're not doing you a service, right? But it comes down to the relationship you have with the individuals that you're going to be working with. I'm of the thought that I'm upfront. I'm telling owners what we do, how we do it, and what we think of their business, and we're not sugarcoating it, because that's not the right way to go into business with somebody. But the owners have to do the same thing. There's going to be give and take. There's going to be non-negotiables on the ownership side as well as on the management side, and being able to work through that is important up front. And if you feel comfortable and you trust those people through those conversations, that's how you typically know. We like to personalize a lot of our service. We're owners first, is what I always tell everyone. And we have that scrappy owner mentality where we're able to just really work through things and figure things out on the fly and act as an owner. And really, we care about your bottom line as much as we care about your top line when it comes to revenue. But you have to have those conversations and talk to leadership at those companies. You're going to talk to people like me who are directors but COOs and your CMOs, all of those people. You should be talking to them ahead of time before you make a decision, so you feel comfortable about the relationship you're building with the company.
Absolutely. And is there any particular size of business that you wouldn't work with? Anything too big or too small? Because I know that there's a lot of small business owners who are looking for a bit of extra help, because maybe, as you say, they invested during COVID, they've taken it on and they've been struggling after a number of years, thinking, well, it was easy with the marketing, it's not easy anymore. How do I get this marketing in place? Who can help me? Is something too small, or do you take any size?
We typically, and a lot of people in this industry, say that the breaking point is typically $1 million of gross revenue. And that's not a set in stone number, but that's where it starts to make sense the most for the owners and for the managers. When you are looking at what the fee structures are for managers and you're making less than that, you have to be comfortable knowing that you may be sacrificing a little bit of your bottom line to make your life a little bit easier, or to see what else can be squeezed out of the property. And then for the management companies, obviously we have our overhead and all of the teams that we have working for us. So that's kind of the breaking point. But we have smaller clients. We work with smaller clients. We customize packaging. And sometimes the real small, like mom and pop, as I like to call them, they just need some help with consulting. And consulting is always a good route to go to because you could still stay in control, but you have somebody there to look at your financials for you and say, hey, I think if we made some adjustments here or there, we can realize, more revenue on this side. So having conversations will really lead to, is it too big, too small? I don't think there's ever too big. I mean, scaling up is easier in a lot of cases in this industry than scaling down.
Is that what makes Northgate different? Being able to speak to people of all sizes and identify the problem quite quickly?
Yeah, that, and I think we're open to talking with everyone. Plus, our experience in this industry, we like you said earlier, we have access to a lot of different data from hundreds and hundreds of different camp resorts or future camp resorts. When it comes to the development, we've developed properties. We have marketing where a lot of third-party management companies that offer full service management are still farming out some of those services like accounting or marketing. We do everything in-house. So you have one point of contact. You have myself or one of the other managers who's managing the property from our home office. And you have access to all of our resources, which is a huge differentiator for us because we have proven over the last 15 or so years just how to really develop these properties and take them to the next level, as well as manage them efficiently as well.
And one of the things that I can't not ask you, I've got to ask you this, is around tech and tools, yes. Because at the moment we are just seeing the most incredible transition into high tech everything, even for the small business owner, even for small entrepreneur. I mean, just the tools, it's overwhelming how much is available. And so clearly you will be using these tools in your organization, because why wouldn't you? I mean, it's just incredible. It's just incredible. So you will be probably implementing it at scale as well. So can you share a little bit about the kinds of tools that maybe have moved the needle quite significantly?
Yeah, with AI, there's a lot of AI bot chats and things like that taking your reservations. We haven't gone there yet because we still feel like the personal touch is really important, especially in this space. A lot of what we implement technology-wise, our guests never see, but it allows our teams to be efficient. It allows them to provide that guest experience because it takes time off of their day of doing the busy work where they don't have to do that. We implement quality assurance through our app that we created that allows us to make sure that all of our properties are in good condition, to make sure that what we're seeing, the guests are seeing that are positive, trash cans emptied, all of those things that are really part of the experience visually. But also we have a lot of tools that we implement when it comes to expense management, labor management, and reservations are another huge one with our reservation booking system, plus all the integrations into websites and all the different tools that we use that the guest doesn't see, nor do the employees sometimes. It just frees them up to run their property and provide that service and keep the property in good condition so we can continue to welcome guests back. So most of our technology is developed around efficiency right now. We are slowly bringing more and more technology in, but we still want to keep that personal touch because until the guest tells us they don't want it, that's the reason they're coming.
So many times I speak to owners and they talk about AI in terms of, no, we haven't really tried that yet, because to them it feels like cheating. I don't know why. I can kind of understand it, but I always say to them, you got to think about it like you've been able to employ somebody, an extra assistant, but that assistant you don't have to pay because they don't require paying. So they can do all those jobs for you that you don't want to do. And some of the things that I've been seeing recently with AI messaging tools is quite astounding in terms of, yes, it is AI and you should never pretend that it's not, but they can absolutely answer questions that customers are asking maybe in the middle of the night because they've just so happened to be, looking online for a holiday or whatever. And they've just got these questions and they're desperate to find something out about it. They can't find it on the website. So having that messenger, it's just brilliant. It's an agent that's working on your behalf. But then, of course, you always have to give the consumer the out to be able to speak to a human, which is absolutely right. But these tools, I urge people to start implementing them for sure, because they will bring efficiencies to the business. Is there one in particular that you have used or you're thinking of using that you're really thinking this is quite an amazing tool?
Yeah, I think the chat portion is the biggest one. There's a lot of other AI technologies that will help, with making reservations or dispatching a work order if it's in the middle of the night and there's an issue for a guest, scanning QR codes, all that. But I think the big one is the chat. For us, the challenge we have is we have 35 properties, all of which are unique, and they're not all the same. So our standard policies are very easy because you still have to teach AI, which, I mean, I know a lot of people know that, but they need to be taught, so to speak. But there's a lot of individual property nuances that guests might be asking about in the middle of the night or during the day when we have high volumes and they can't get through to some of our guest services. So for us, we want to be intentional when we roll it out. If you have one property that AI, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like you said, it saves you so much when it comes to labor. It also enhances the guest experience. If a guest is getting an answer right away, they're far happier than if they're sitting on hold or they have to send a text and then they have to wait until an agent or a guest service representative is available to text them back. So if you can implement AI and it does what you need it to do to help the guest, I think it's a no-brainer in my mind. For us, it's a little bit more complex because of, again, the uniqueness of all of our properties.
So is that how you balance those efficiencies with personalization by making sure that it's trained properly? And
Yeah, no,
how do you do that? I mean,
well, that's above my pay grade, is what I like to always say. I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know, but I do know that with AI, there is that you have to ask it questions and see how it responds. You have to code in a lot of where your database of answers are to make sure that it has the access to the answers. Obviously, there's companies out there that will do that for you when they launch your AI chat services and everything. But you want to make sure it's giving the right answers, because the last thing we want is to say, we're going to give you a computer to talk to, and it's not going to give you the right answers.
Mm.
So it's all, for us, it really is about the guest experience and being able to implement these tools, whether it be, for example, our food service outlets. We're implementing QR code ordering. So that way we reduce wait times. We allow people to spend more time at the pool. They don't have to wait in line for their food. They get notified when it's ready. Guests have been asking for that, and it helps and it enhances the guest experience. With the chat, we want to make sure it's right, and we want to make sure that it's not going to actually create a more negative experience.
So you're dealing with, or you're working with, a very seasonal business here. It's absolutely busy and completely hectic in the top season. And, depending where in America you are, obviously, that's usually around the middle of the year. How do you manage that? So obviously the peak season is brilliant. But if it doesn't go well, it can really make or break a year. So how does Northgate manage those operational costs while still delivering the high quality service that it needs all year round, even though you've got those peak times? How does that work?
We've seen a big shift in this for us over the last 5 years. It used to be we would just staff during peak season because everything was great, and then we wouldn't taper off that staff, and then everything that we did in the peak season, we kind of lost it in the off season because we were spending far more than we were making. So we shifted towards a labor management system that we've created in-house, actually, where we're able to actually manage to the day, which is quite impressive in this kind of industry. Our managers are fully involved too in the process. So it's not like we're saying you only get this because it costs X, right? No, we want to make sure that the experience is right. We want to make sure that they're able to staff at those peak times to service guests, and also during slow times that they aren't spending more than they need to because they think they need those employees or the team members there. So we're taking it and we break it down by week. They get their budget, they look at it, we make all the adjustments, and we're managing to the day. We almost micromanage the process because you have to. It's our biggest controllable. I think for anybody in this industry, labor and supplies and repairs expenses are your biggest controllable. And if you could manage those a little bit closer, everything else will fall into place. And we're not just cutting staff and impacting the guest experience. We're being very thoughtful again of when are peak times, what does peak season look like, and then how do we protect all of the good that we did during peak season in the shoulder and off seasons. So for us, it's really about labor and expense management, and we focused in on that pretty heavily about 5 years ago, and it's really improved our business overall, and it also has improved our employee experience because we get more return employees that way because they know when they come back during the season, they're going to get more hours. We're not just going to put 100 people in a position because that's what we think we need. It's far more intentional, and we get better retention that way as well.
Staffing is such a huge challenge across the industry, isn't it? Are you having similar problems at the moment to other countries around the world of not being able to find the staff that you need for properties in seasonal business? Mainly because it seems that COVID has upset the apple cart a little bit. It kind of created this issue. I don't know what in particular, but it's certainly challenging in hospitality. Is that something that you've experienced as well?
We did early on, and we still do a little bit because there's also with COVID, there's a shift in the guest demands as far as experience goes, and you need a little bit more polished employees and better training programs in place, and it's hard to do that seasonally in a lot of times. But the one thing still with the United States and our camping industry, we have work campers, and there's still a huge network of work campers. So we do a really nice job with our work camper program to be able to really bring in employees that come back year after year or might go to different properties year after year because that's what they like to do. But we keep them in our network because we have this program in place. But yes, staffing is very challenging. But I think the big thing is really relying on, a lot of what we do, it's your first job anyway. In a lot of cases, it's, we call them park rangers. They're the ones that go and clean up the sites when people move out. There's, our food service employees, our activities employees. It's typically first time jobs. So a lot of our managers do a really nice job of really building relationships with the local schools, high schools and colleges. So that way we do get really good seasonal employees year after year.
So you've got 20 states, you've got 35 properties. Some of those are going to be in very remote locations. So how do you manage that? Is it by, as you were saying there, you're going to the schools, you're developing the training programs. Is that how you manage those remote locations?
Yes. And work campers, folks who will live on site. We do have employee housing at some locations that are very remote. It's necessary. You go to all the ski resorts and everything else in the States, they have like dormitory style employee housing. It's not cheap to build, and it takes up some land that you can develop, revenue generating sites on, but in some places it's very necessary. We're very lucky though, because we do have, in those smaller towns that we're in the rural areas, we're the biggest economy there. So a lot of the folks in that area want to work for us because of that. So we do get lucky there. But yes, it is a challenge. But again, we have 35 locations and we're in 20 states, and we always have employees who want to move around and want to go to other areas. So in some areas we get really lucky and we have employees who want to move from, say, North Carolina to Colorado. North Carolina is harder to staff, but or vice versa. So we are able to leverage our network very well to make sure that every property is running appropriately.
So it's a definite challenge, staffing.
Yeah.
So I feel for you. It's amazing that you've got that system that's working so well, because it is about systematizing it. That's the only way to really step up for that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of you're in the industry, you've been in the industry for ages, clearly very, very experienced. You're deeply embedded in this sector. So what kind of shifts are you seeing in for guest expectations, the customer expectations? And how do you think that operators need to be stepping up to meet those expectations now and in the future?
Far more guest focused. Experiential is really huge. few years ago when, you're the only game in town and the only thing open, you could have had the worst experience and the worst guest scores, and people still came back. The shift now is really far more experiential. People want experiences. They don't want convenience. They want to be able to go somewhere they're going to spend their money, and they want it to show and add value. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges for any operator in this space, because you also have to do that with rising costs, rising labor, and all of those other things. And that's where systems and putting in place all of the training programs and being able to systemize a lot of the back end stuff that nobody sees is very important. But yeah, I think, eco-friendly is another big one too, where people really want to see eco-friendly, and balancing resort luxury with eco-friendly is not always easy, but there are ways to do it. But if I had to say any one thing, it's experience. And we're seeing that pretty NPS. Nobody in this industry really talked about the NPS scores ever. And now it's like a new buzzword. It's huge in the resort business, when in hotel business, but it was never in the outdoor hospitality business.
And so is this where you're seeing the biggest opportunities for the future and growth for luxury camping in the next 3 to 5 years, let's say?
Yeah, I think so. It's again, experience, eco-friendly. I think that's probably going to be the next biggest one, because that's part of the experience for the guests. It's really what drives a lot of what people want. So being able to find those balances and start to promote your eco-friendliness and what you're doing for your local communities, and the next generation of campers, that's what they're looking for. They're not looking to roll their RV in, have a bonfire, make some s'mores, and then go to the next RV park. They're spending thousands of dollars to come have a truly amazing experience. So activating activities programs that are, all inclusive from the youngest guest to the oldest guest, and really just making sure your service is on point and the aesthetics of your property on point is what people are looking at. They come in the front door and they have a bad experience, and then they notice everything that it might be imperfect on the property. They come in and have a great experience, then nothing else matters. And it's really setting the tone and having that almost Ritz-Carlton-esque service level.
In Europe, some parts of Europe and a few parts of the UK, we are seeing a little bit of a blend between RVing / glamping. So this is where an RV park may have an RV parking area. So someone will bring their RV in, park up, and normally that would be just a parking area with the various utility services connected. But now they're starting to blend a bit of glamping in that as well. So there might be a glamping tent, there might be a hot tub, there might be a really amazing barbecue area that the RV drives and parks up next to and has complete use of. Are you starting to see that? Is that something that you could see as an opportunity in the future?
Yes, we've done a little bit of that. So we have different site types. We have your most basic, just roll it on, has your utilities, and we have a lot of our properties that have full concrete pads with the hot tubs and that higher level of service, or with like the grill that's covered with a pergola. But we are seeing that a lot more, especially in the snowbird regions, where a lot of folks are coming down from the north to go to the south for the winter. They want those higher end experiences. They're driving very expensive RVs or pulling very expensive trailers, and they want it to feel like an extension of home for them. So we are seeing that quite a bit. When it comes to more of our transient or destination camping, we see it a little bit, but a lot of those folks that are there for the activities. They're there for the water slides and the pools. So we have other amenities that are attractive to those folks.
They're making memories with their kids, I suppose,
Right.
more than being a snowbird, aren't they? I love that you call them snowbirds. That's great. So what do you think some camp resort owners and operators might be underestimating right now with the industry and what's happening in the industry, and how might they be able to fix that?
I think, again, it comes down to service and being able to provide that service, but also manage your business effectively. And I think that's where a lot of what I see is a miss. Everyone thinks service is just kill them with a number of employees that are going to smile every time. It's not what it's about. It's about what are the little things, kind of like what you talked about. Do you have the hot tubs on your site? Do you have a space that's a little bit more, less rustic and a little bit more glamping for the RVers? Do you have any of the lodging units on your property? Because those are huge. The glamping tents or pods or the eco tents, those are what people really want. So thinking about the future, there has to be some investment in those types of things to stay relevant in this industry is how I see it. It's unfortunate maybe for some, but it really is the shift in this industry. We're seeing it everywhere from Texas to California all the way up to Maine. Everybody's got lodging units, they have activities, they have service, but they're also having to do that by implementing technology because if you don't, it's just going to, the wage markets in the United States is going to run you over.
Yeah. So if there is a owner or an investor listening today and they're maybe on the fence about whether they should just go it alone or whether they should explore some third-party management opportunities, what would you say to them to really consider and think through in that process?
There's no commitments to conversations, and I would have conversations whether you feel like you're ready to move on to the next step of your business or whether it's you just want to know. There's no harm in conversations. Speaking to experts in the industry might open your eyes to some things you may or may not have already known about your property or the industry, and really being thoughtful about the process, not rushing into it, right? I think that a lot of people are like, I'm done with this. I need to be done because there's options. I mean, sale is an option, third party management is an option, consulting. So there's a lot of different avenues that business owners in this industry have. And I just don't think they know that yet. And it's really about finding who's right for you. You can research right now RV resort managers, and there's going to be 5 or 6 companies that pop up to the list. Talk to all of them. It's an investment into your time, which sometimes is not as readily available during, certain parts of the year, but it'll be worth it for you in the long run to say, okay, honestly, I think I can do this or I can't. And, some people have land they can expand on and never thought they could because they just didn't know what to put on there. A lot of us management companies also have development teams in-house that can help with those things as well. So it may not be just about, well, I don't want to manage or I want to take my property to the next level, but I want to manage it. And that's where we can help as well.
I don't know about you, but if I've got a project on, I almost need to get rid of the old project before I can move on with a new project. So if you can actually park that with someone else who's going to manage it so that you can really focus on the new project, I think that really helps it become more successful. I think there is a limit to what a human can focus on and
Yes.
make it successful. And one of the things that you said there, which really rang true to me, was when an owner may just go, you know what, I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. I feel like I need to do something different or move on or whatever the reason might be. Maybe they've got family issues or maybe they're just really tired because they've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I see a 10-year kind of itch period, certainly amongst owners of glamping sites and other types of sites. But if they could just come to an organization like yours or another one and to say, you know what can you do to just alleviate some of this and make my life a bit more enjoyable again? So I don't have to think so much about this business, or maybe I can stand outside of the business and look in for a while to see what I want to do. I think that must be really attractive to some people to be able to take that breather
Mhm.
and hand it over to someone else. I mean, have you experienced that with some operators who have just kind of gone, you know what, this is brilliant, just take it away from me. Let me free myself up and do something else.
Yeah, and most of our experiences have been that way so far. Obviously, we have different levels of ownership interaction and their involvement, but for the most part, it's been, oh man, this has been great. I've had more time with my family, or I've been able to focus on my hobbies, or whatever the case may be. We still have some situations where owners are on property, but we're doing all the managing and they're able to now enjoy the property for what it is. The one thing I'll, just caution everybody, if you're going to talk to somebody, go into it open-minded. There's always going to be that part of a business owner who, like you said, has been in there for 10 years and has put their blood, sweat, and tears into this property. In the back of their mind, they're like, well, I could still do it better than this person, or why would I give you that when I can already do that? It's really about going in and being open-minded and listening to what options you have. At the end of the day, it's your decision to say yes or no, right? But go in open-minded and don't go in with a closed mind, because those conversations usually lead to you not wanting or needing the service. Then you operate for another year and then you're just mad at yourself because you're like, oh, I could have had somebody else doing this.
And it must be quite hard for an owner if they've built this business up from nothing, they've worked really hard over the years, and it's their baby, isn't it? And they're
Mhm.
considering giving the responsibility to somebody else, and that must be hard to let go. So, do you have any kind of tips in what someone might need to think about when they're going through that process of letting go?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge. A lot of them still have family that are working there, sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, grandkids, but nobody really wants to own the business. They just want to work for the business. So there's a lot of emotions attached to a lot of these situations. I think the biggest thing is really, again, that open-mindedness. I know it's very hard, but then also staying in contact with the management company and don't just become completely hands off right away. Still have those touch points, know what's going on. And it's more of a relationship. It's not here, you're going to do this for me and I'm just going to collect the paycheck because yes, that's ultimately where you want to get to. But early on, as you're transitioning through, being able to provide some of that like knowledge that nobody else has is it's invaluable to the management company. And then by the owner knowing that they have all that information, it's a lot easier for them to let go because, okay, they know what I've done. They know where everything is. I don't have to worry as much. And I think that's probably the biggest thing because nothing gets written down by these owners. It's all up here. It's all in the
Mm.
head and they have to share it with someone. And so being able to do that early on through the transition makes it much easier to eventually step back and take some of the emotion out of it.
So they haven't got any standard operating procedures or anything like that. They've just literally been keeping it all in their mind and how they're doing it.
A lot of them, a lot of people we talk to, yes. There are some that are very structured. There's some that have the SOPs and they have everything they need for their property. There's some where it's like, okay, I need to winterize my property this year. And I've never written this process down. I've just done it for the last 20 years and I've never done it with anybody else. So how are we going to do this? So yeah, there's a lot of different things. And I think that's another lesson for owners, like really get it on paper because there's going to come a point where even if a family member takes over, they need to know how to do this. And it makes the transition a lot easier for you.
And I think that really proves when you were saying earlier that have those conversations with people to really make sure that you're picking the right person when you're thinking about third party management, because it sounds like you've really got to build a relationship with that management company so that, you know, they know where you're coming from as an operator. They're able to tease out all of those important operational nuances that no doubt every business has. And if they just jump into an agreement with any old management system, maybe because it was the cheapest, it's not necessarily the best, the one that's going to
Right.
work the hardest for them, that would be a big mistake, wouldn't it?
It would be, yes. It's different for large institutional owners that the relationship's a little bit different, but for owners who have built their property from the ground up or have a couple of properties that they've really put everything into, it is about relationship. It's a business relationship. We're working for them, and in a sense, they're working for us because we need that institutional knowledge of their properties. But we want to make sure that we have everything we need to make them successful and their property successful. So that way the relationship stays positive through the whole agreement, right? And yeah, it's more of, I guess it's like dating more than signing a contract. There's got to be some give and take. There's got to be those touch points and that real feeling of trust.
It's really interesting because having been in this industry, glamping luxury hospitality for so many years in Europe and the UK and throughout America now, seeing everything that's going on in your country and the Americas as well, it's just so interesting how as the industry is aging, more services are getting a higher demand. And this is one I've seen really start to grow, the third party management aspects. And it must be because people are saying, you know what, this was great and I've loved doing this, but I need to take a bit of a step back now. I need to kind of do something different. So it's really exciting for me when I find businesses like yours that are kind of stepping into that gap in the market and producing something that people can very happily go into partnership with. So you were saying that you definitely need to open up conversations. And I'm very pleased that you are going to be speaking at the Glamping Show in
Yes.
Colorado at the end of September,
Yes.
beginning of October. So that's going to be brilliant. Can't wait. So hopefully, if somebody wants to come along and have that conversation with you. You're going to be there. They'll be able to have that face-to-face, which is great. Face-to-face is amazing. But if they wanted to have a chat with you beforehand, how would they get in touch with you at Northgate Resorts?
So we have our website, northgateresorts.com, which has a contact us section. Those all come to me. You can reach us we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. I'm personally Dan Invergo on LinkedIn, and you can email me directly too. I'll say it out. I don't know if it'll be easy for everyone to remember, but it's DINVERGO@northgateholdings.com. And I'm open to conversations with everyone. I do my job. I enjoy talking to people, but I like helping to make sure everyone knows their options. But yeah, I'll be at the glamping show as well, which will be exciting, and happy to meet everyone that comes through. I'll talk for days about our services.
I love that. You're so easy to chat to as well, Dan. So I'm sure people will be coming up to you left, right, and center. So I will make sure that I put all of those links and your email in the notes for the show so people can click on those and come and have a chat. And yeah, I just cannot wait really until September to really dive deep in all of this to do with third-party management and glamping and structures and everything else that we get to chat about. And yeah, so look forward to meeting you there.
Same. It's going to be here before we know it. We're just breaking into peak season for us here on Memorial Day weekend, which is coming up this weekend. And when we blink, it's September for us in the industry.
It really must fly by.
Oh, it does. Yeah. I can't believe it's already Memorial Day. I mean, we've been doing all this planning for this day and this weekend, and it's already here.
Oh, thank you so much for sparing time to chat with me today. And I look very much forward to seeing you again at the end of September.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me on, Sarah. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.